Good morning and welcome to Coffee with Compassion. My name is Pastor Chris Blackburn, and I'm just going to take a few moments and reflect upon Pastor Hal Adams' sermon from this past Sunday, Buck Wild, in which he shared some things that really hit home about being in debt. And most importantly, he talked about the greatest debt that we can put ourselves into is consumer debt, which is just buying things for the sake of buying rather than buying and living within our means and buying those things that we need. And this was a message that actually I've heard several times in the past few years that struck home with me. And so I just wanted to reflect a few moments on something that he shared that I think would be of benefit to go a little deeper on in all of our lives as we approach the holiday season. You know, we're coming into a season of Christmas where people oftentimes feel obligated or compelled, or they're just caught up in the Christmas spirit to go out and buy gifts for family and friends and children. And I've got to admit that I am as guilty as anybody when it comes to that. When my boys were little, just like my mom and dad did probably for me and my brother growing up, Christmas is just a big time of year to celebrate and to play up things like Santa Claus and to make Christmas a special time in our home. And there's nothing wrong with that, except oftentimes we get into a place where we go into debt, and in some cases severe debt, to where we can't pay back what we borrowed, for lack of a better phrase, to make one day very special. And then, of course, over the course of time, when we don't pay off credit card debt and things of that nature, as we know, it can pile up on us, and it creates basically a form of slavery that we have to go into with a bank that we have to pay back money with interest. And if we don't do it right away, it can begin to accumulate and slowly and surely begin to crush us. And so I was struck by the words that Pastor used on Sunday, starting with Galatians chapter 5, verse 22 and 23, which, as we all know, are the fruits of the Spirit. And he, shared that those fruits basically are the reflection of God and Christ in us. Love, joy, peace, kindness, faithfulness, gentleness, and of course the big one, self-control. And oftentimes we exhibit these traits in our daily walk with Christ, but we do tend to get caught up in moments where we feel like we need a new car, or we need to get a better, I like what he said, a refrigerator that talks to us. I don't even know that those exist, but nonetheless, that is something that people apparently are out buying right now. So I want to stress what he said with this, is that when it comes to paying off debt, we need to have first a reference point of both scripturally and I think financially of what it is we're trying to accomplish, whether it be getting out of debt or staying out of debt. And then, of course, I love the video with Shana where he's talking about making a constant correction. And I'll be honest with you, I think that this is the point today that I want to make, is that as we are heading into the holiday season, for most of us, including people like myself who truly enjoy every aspect of the holiday season, this may be a time to begin to correct our thinking so that we don't make the same mistake again into going into debt for things we don't need to purchase for ourselves or for other people, but we can still demonstrate love. So here are just two scriptures this morning that I was just going to mention that we can focus on and begin to pray about so that we have a clear objective of what it is we want to do with our finances so that we can honor God this holiday season. The first one is found in Romans 13 and 8, and it simply says, pay your debts as they come. However, one debt you can never finish paying is the debt of love that you owe to each other. And I think that scripture is very poignant, because you could take the first part of that scripture and say, well, gosh, if I charge a few $100s for Christmas presents, as long as I pay it back, then I've done my job. But I think what the scripture actually is really trying to tell us is that we can demonstrate our love not just at Christmas, but year round. And it doesn't have to be in the form of a gift that's wrapped and under a tree necessarily. All those things are nice. I think it's more important that we use this holiday season just to love on each other, to spend time together, maybe play board games together, watch movies together, but make it enjoyable, because memories are much more valuable, I think, than a gift that will probably not even be in your possession this time next year when Christmas rolls around again. But the second scripture, and I'm going to close with this, as we talk about having a strong reference point and staying out of debt and honoring God with our finances, making the constant type of correction is recognizing our habits and maybe the sin nature in us to spend money that we really don't have. And so I'm going to read here from Romans chapter 7, verse 18, and it probably will be familiar to some of us, in which it says, I know that nothing good lives in me. That is, nothing good lives in my corrupt nature. Although I have a desire to do what is right, I don't do it. Man, I've been guilty of that. Many, many times I wanted to make Christmas special for my kids. And even though I didn't have any money aside in savings or any money in my checking account, I knew it was wrong to run up credit card debt, but I did it. And my mindset was, well, I'm just going to pay it off. Well, paying it off in January was the intent maybe, but reality was it took years to pay off some of that debt. And it put me in a financial hole. This is being as honest as I can. And I think a lot of us can relate to that. So as we go into the holiday season, based on what Pastor was sharing this past Sunday and what I really feel like is something we all just need to take a step back and think about simply is this. What is our reference point? Are we going to honor God with our finances? Are we going to be generous? And if so, are we going to do it with how we buy gifts for people, for our children, for family members? Or quite frankly, are we going to honor God and being a blessing to those in need this holiday season? And secondly, just a constant correction. You know, when we get to the point where we feel like we just need to blow money, just remember a slight adjustment in attitude and understanding the scripture and God's plan for our finances. It's okay to do things in moderation, but do it in such a way that it honors God, and it starts by not going into an overload of debt. And then finally, just have a clear objective. If you have money to put towards Christmas this year to somebody, set a budget, stick to it, and do everything you can do to stay out of debt this Christmas season. So anyways, just some thoughts I had this morning. I hope you guys are blessed. I look forward to talking to you again soon. Have a great morning.